effort. And I was just listening to what you were talking about with the teachers in the community centers. And it just shows how much there is in terms of community building and what we need to have from the communities, because that, I think, is actually where the work has to start. Once the community starts, then things will happen. And as with your community centers and your teachers, I'm sure you'll find a way. But thank you very much also for the recommendations you brought in. Talking of community centers and from the community level, we're going to move to Bangladesh, to Mr. Mathura Bikash Tripura. Just to explain, Tripura is one of the indigenous peoples that identify as indigenous in Bangladesh. Mr. Tripura is the executive director of an indigenous organization called Zabarang Kalyan Shamiti, which has been working for many years, and he's one of the leaders in that area. So, Mr. Tripura, you have the floor.
Thank you. Let me start with greetings in some indigenous languages that I know. Kulumka, Juju, Pengnam, Rikubaya, Gorlagi, and also the national language, Namaskar and Assalamu Alaikum. Good morning to everybody. Actually, our organization is working for the rights of education in indigenous languages for last about 1 decade. So I would just like to share the experience of our works in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, actually, we are about 45 indigenous people, indigenous groups. We speak about 5 different linguistic groups. So if we see about the policy or legal aspects of the position of our languages in Bangladesh, as per the Constitution of Bangladesh, actually there is only one single language called Bangla, because in the Constitution it is mentioned that the national language of Bangladesh will be Bangla. So the other languages actually not that much recognized in the Constitution, but there are some contributing clauses, like in one clause, the Constitution is also recognizing the small ethnic groups of Bangladesh to create sort of opportunities for them to preserve and promote their heritage and culture. So maybe we can use this clause to develop the languages of indigenous peoples. So there are also some other legal documents, like the Chittagong Hill Tracts Accord between the indigenous people and the government, was signed in 1997. In this accord, the education in mother tongue is recognized. And the primary education development programs, this program also recognized the needs of education in indigenous languages. And following that, actually, the national education policy was formed in 2010, and there were a list of activities on indigenous languages and education in that policy. So actually, my organization works on these issues. Like in 2006, we have started piloting education in mother tongue in actually three majority languages, indigenous languages: Chakma, Marma, and Tripura, my language. So these in these 3 languages, we have started pre-primary and gradually up to grade 3. So we tried bringing the policymakers, the bureaucrats in education ministry to visit our schools and to sort of showcase the activities that indigenous languages can be used in the education system. And following that, actually, the government from 2010 started thinking about through the National Education Policy, and in 2012 up to 2016, there were a series of activities undertaken by the government. And from that, in 2016, we got that the government has started already the education, pre-primary education for the indigenous groups. They have started primarily with 5 languages, 5 major languages, 3 from our hill region and 2 from the plain regions. So doing that, actually, we have mobilized the community-based organizations, the networks, national and regional networks, and also the non-governmental organizations, and sometimes the national and international NGOs. They are also involved in the process. So it is now at the time for Bangladesh to think about the legal, especially the policy on language, because in Bangladesh there is no language policy. If the government can adopt language policy, then the indigenous languages can also be included in the national policy, so that the language development, revitalization, and education in mother tongue of indigenous peoples can also be included in the process. So our recommendations for the government is actually not only for government, maybe we have to work together with the government and the indigenous peoples together. Otherwise, it will not be able to. We will not be able to achieve the targets. So our recommendation is we need an institute for indigenous languages in the country, national institute, so that the government can take projects and programs to develop and revitalize especially the endangered languages. Here I want to mention that in Bangladesh, among the 45 languages, there are about 14 languages endangered. Among them, one language called Lara. It is spoken only by 315 people. And there are also many other languages like Koda, spoken by only 1,300 people. And there are also many other languages spoken by less than 2,000 people. So this type of languages, the endangered languages, can be should be developed and revitalized. So you may know that the Bangladesh government has established one international mother language institute to actually work on the languages of the world, actually all of the languages. But there is no specific activities for the indigenous people there. So we are demanding there every time so that we have one specific department or one cell for the indigenous people in the institute, and also which will be run by the indigenous scholars. So that was also one of the recommendations from our side. And there are also many other issues like the teachers training. The government still doesn't have any process for teachers training. So these are also this is also very much a vital issue to like the government has already published books for the grade 2, but still the teachers are not trained to deliver the classes. So my concluding remarks is like the education in mother tongue of indigenous people, it doesn't only benefit the indigenous people, it benefits the whole country and even the world, because we believe that the language education in indigenous languages enables children to read and write in their mother tongue and other languages, as the education starts from their language and what they know best. So we believe that this also somehow contributes to the SDG, our Sustainable Development Goals. And also the early childhood education in mother tongue, it's only possible in mother tongue actually, early childhood activities. And well-trained and supported multilingual teachers also needed. And also like MTB MLE enables lifelong learning. The MLE or mother tongue-based education helps to address gender inequality also. So this type of many issues are addressed by the languages of indigenous peoples. If we take care of this, the issues of indigenous languages, then many of the sustainable development goals can be addressed. So I would conclude here my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Mr. Tripura, and it's for also providing the linkage between the community level and what can be done when you have the community and the government working together. And I think that's a very constructive and positive recommendation, which I'm sure can be followed up on in different countries around the world. I just also wanted to remind us all that Bangladesh was actually instrumental, and to recognize that, because I'm also from the Hill Tracts, to have 21st of February proclaimed as Mother Language Day. So congratulations on that, and I hope that this will also help stimulate greater initiatives and activities at the country level and around the world.